Hey y'all, this is Culture Soup, where tech, culture, and business collide. It's a podcast that spoons up everything hot from social media. I'm your host, L. Michelle Smith, and each episode we bring you some of the most notable and not yet notable thought leaders in tech, business, and culture. Well, the day is here. It's Christmas Day, December 25th. And as promised, we're bringing back one of our favorites. In fact, she was the very first episode for the Culture Soup podcast. I'm talking about the Queen of Soul's favorite soprano, Audrey DuBois Harris. So this is how today's episode will work. While you were opening presents, clinking your cocoa mugs, or drinking your spiked eggnog, or not spiked, we are going to listen to Audrey DuBois Harris's thoughts on inclusion in the opera, which is where we left off the last time. Then we are going to step through some of the tracks on Audrey's new project for Christmas, Joy to the World. I had the honor of having the artists themselves listen to the track while I was listening too, and give me some tips and insights on what was going on. Oh, it was so amazing. So she and I will talk about a couple of the selections, maybe even 3 from her new project. Then, after we talk about some other things, when we wrap, we will announce the winner of the free autograph CD from Audrey herself. So as always, some great conversation and some goodies at the end. Without further ado, here is Audrey DuBois Harris.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad to have you back. You know, we're excited because your Christmas CD has dropped.
Yes.
And by the time this is aired, you know, it's Christmas Day today. So Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you and to all who are listening.
Yes, absolutely. By the time this airs, you would have been doing all sorts of media interviews and appearances and such. I saw snippets of Sister Circle. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You did an awesome job. And I'm very excited to talk about your CD and the music that's out there. And what day did it drop? It was in November, right?
Actually, it was November 23rd.
Okay.
November 23rd. Mm-hmm.
The day after Thanksgiving, your album drops. And
yes.
There's so much excitement around it. Tell me how people have responded, especially since you've gotten this kind of a new wind beneath your wing since we saw you on the national stage that day.
Well, I've been really just blessed and so thankful for all of the love coming my way. People are really excited about the project, and they have really just been a great support. You know, I've received so many messages, so many posts, and even private messages of people showing their downloads. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Really appreciate that. And people also letting me know that they absolutely love the project. So that warms my heart and tells me, you know, to keep putting that music out there.
Excellent. Well, we talked a bit about what the album is like the last time you were on, and you told us to expect something different. Mm-hmm. And I've been able to preview a few tracks, and you know what, Audrey? They are amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So let's talk about the one that's your favorite.
Well, my favorite track, and it's hard to pick a favorite because I am a Christmas girl. You know, I just love all the carols. Whenever I hear them, I come alive. I really do. But for me, my favorite is Little Drummer Boy. It really is. That's not my favorite carol, but that's my favorite on this project. And I just love all of the different elements that are added to that track and to that record. And so we've got surprises for the listener. It is totally unexpected. And, I just can't wait for people to hear the track and hear the music and what we worked on. So,
Absolutely. Well,
yeah.
I listened a bit and I heard several different flavors. And the
Yes.
first flavor I recognized was a little R&B.
Oh, did you think R&B?
Yeah, it has a
Interesting.
groove to it.
Okay.
How would you describe it?
Well, I kind of call it. I like the elements of jazz that's
Mm-hmm.
in it. I love the emphasis on the drums. Of course, referencing the title "Little Drummer Boy," and I really wanted to have a track that really just exposed that drum work.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to give too much to the
Right.
listener because then they're going to say, "Oh, we're already prepared for this." So I don't want to prepare them
Yes.
too much for it. But there are a few surprises in that song, so I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely jazz flavors too. And for those jazz aficionados out there, it probably the kind of jazz you might hear in New Orleans, right? Wouldn't you
Yeah,
say?
I would say that.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
But it's definitely a toe tapper. And I can't wait for my little girl Joni to hear it because she's going to be dancing all over the place.
Yes, yes, you should tape it and send it to me.
I think I will. I think I will.
Okay,
And
okay.
then let's see. The opening track is amazing.
Mm.
And you were talking to me about how you opened it in a way that really sets the stage for how think of the Christmas story.
That's right. I view Christmas, of course. I love the shopping. I love the lights. I love the decorations, the singing, and all of that. But not, first and foremost, for me, Christmas is about Christ.
Mm.
He is the reason for the season. And I opened the project with the first word that you hear me say is rejoice,
Mm.
and wanted that to be what echoes throughout the entire project. And so, he has come, and because of his life, because of his sacrifice, we are all made better. We've all been granted the gift of eternal life. And so, I wanted to have that resonate throughout the entire project.
Amen. So, have you sung any of these cuts other places yet? I know you sang one on Sister Circle.
I sang two, actually. I
Okay.
sang, uh, I think the first one was Joy to the World. And then I was only supposed to sing one on Sister Circle, but after I sang
Mm-hmm.
that first one, they said, "Can you give us a second one?" So, of course, I ended the show with Oh Holy Night.
Oh, that's
And so,
awesome.
and that is my favorite carol of all time, Oh Holy
Oh,
Night.
okay.
Yes.
Oh, Holy Night. What comes in a close second, just as your all-time favorite?
Oh Come, Emmanuel, actually.
Okay, all
Hmm.
right.
Yep.
Well, that's
Yes.
perfect that you would start out the album with that.
Yes, yes, that's right. And I end the album with Jesus, the light of the world. I and
Mm.
my singing portion, because actually my daughter ends the album with her playing. She plays the piano on there.
Oh, that's
Uh,
beautiful.
yes, and she does her own arrangement, and I thought it would be so special to have her on there. But I end my portion of the album with Jesus, the Light of the World, and
Hmm.
that song is dedicated in the memory and the honor of Aretha Franklin.
Oh, I love that. When you
Yes.
said Jesus, the light of the world, the first thing I thought of was the Baptist church where I grew up.
Oh,
That
that's
was
right.
one of our tunes.
Of
So I
course.
haven't heard this cut on your album yet. Does it
Yes.
have gospel flavors? Can you describe it?
It absolutely does, and it's with the tambourine. My daughter is playing the
Oh, I
tambourine
love
on
it.
there.
I love
Yes,
it.
so it was definitely a family affair, and there is the organ and the piano, and so and also we have a saxophone in there as well, and so
Yeah.
but it gives that gospel feel.
Mm-hmm.
I was born and raised in the Baptist church as well,
Mm-hmm.
and so we give you that Baptist feel, you
Look,
know.
if you got a good Hammond organ in there, you're doing all right.
Yeah, 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 that's right. You got to have the Hammond. That's right. You got
Yes,
to have that in there.
absolutely. I got to listen to What Child Is This? And so many people have done this song, but I've
Yes.
never heard it quite like this. You
Mm.
want to talk about it?
Well, I'm so glad, first of all, that you said you've never heard it quite that way. And that's what I wanted to present with this project, Joy to the World, a Christmas celebration. I wanted to present these carols that we absolutely love and we're familiar with, have grown up singing them, but I wanted to present them in a completely fresh and different way. And so What Child Is This is presented with a Latin feel. It takes you right into the heart of just a Latin quarter and hearing a guitar player just playing on any corner, you would hear that. And so just brings you right into that feel of what child is this, you
Right.
know?
And, just before we came on, we were talking about juxtaposing this English, old English
Yes.
hymn with Latin flavors, which is just
Yes. It's
amazing.
so different. That's right.
And
That's
you
right.
just don't know what you're in for until you hear it.
Yes, yes, yes. And there are a few surprises in that selection as well, all the way till the end. And kind of do something. Well, it's so funny because the guitar player and we kind of bounce around from each other and we kind of do a call and response actually. And so it's really interesting because it's an English folk song. Um, with Latin flavors that's now giving you the Black church experience of
Wow.
call and response.
And then layer
So
in there a lullaby.
that's right. And there is that lullaby because I am singing about what child is this who lay to rest on Mary's lap is sleeping. So we've got to lullaby that baby and make sure that baby is sleeping well, because
Well, I
he's the.
tell you, this is my new favorite version of What Child Is This?
Ah, I love that.
And guess
Thank
what
you.
comes in second?
What's that?
The pentatonics.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
Well,
they
thank
do an a
you.
cappella version. I'm sure
Yes.
you've heard it.
Yes, I
And
have.
about 2 years ago, maybe 3, they
Oh,
released
yes.
it and they knocked me out.
Of course.
They're awesome.
They really are. They really
Yes,
are
but this is
special.
my new favorite. I'm saying that because I want
Wow.
my listeners to pick up on it because it really is amazing.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank
Awesome,
you.
awesome. So we're looking forward to all of my Culture Soup listeners downloading Audrey's album. Congratulations to our winner for the giveaway.
Yeah,
And, if you haven't picked it up, we know it's on Amazon. It's
that's
also
right.
where else?
It's on iTunes, anywhere where you can download music. So it's on iTunes, Amazon, and I believe Google Play as well. So just look out for it, type it up. If you don't see it where you usually stream music, because it's not for streaming, it's for download only. So be sure to look out for it and pick it up, and hopefully it'll fill the air of your home, your car, wherever you are, with the Christmas cheer.
Yes. And, Audrey, thank you for sharing your gift with the world. It's amazing.
Well, thank you, world, for receiving my gift.
Absolutely. Well, we're happy to receive it here at the Culture Soup Podcast. I wanted to revisit a conversation we started to have the last time, and we're going to continue the conversation about inclusion in the opera. And you kind of have one foot in classical, and you kind of have one foot in opera too, because you've sung Puccini and you've sung some of the other great operas as well.
Oh, yes.
So you have a real point of view, but talk to us about some of the opera that you've done in the past.
Oh, well, I've sung quite a bit of Puccini. I've done La Bohème, of course. I've done Tosca. I've done Verdi, of course, La Traviata. I've done quite a bit. Of course, I've done Porgy and Bess. I've done a tour of that.
Porgy and Bess is one of my faves.
Oh, yes, it's a masterpiece. It really is. And then, of course, Mozart, the the Nozze di Figaro, the Marriage of Figaro.
Right.
I've done Così fan tutte. So many. And yes, and opera is my foundation. Singing at church was that
Sure.
root for me.
Right.
But then as my career blossomed, actually, I was the youngest member of the Florida Grand Opera when I was in high school.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so it was pretty cool getting a check while I
Yes.
was still in high school. Um, and so opera is where I have cultivated and really worked on my gift, And
Yeah.
so from there, it just that's what I did for many, many years only. And then it was time, I believe, to stretch my gift even further.
Mm-hmm.
And because as an artist, I always want to showcase who I am as an individual and who I am as a person. And so there were so many other things that I wanted to say with my gift, so many other things, so many other ways that I wanted to share and express my gift. And that's what you're hearing now with these different flavors and these different genres that I mix in with my classical singing. But what I would say about opera is that it will always be always have a special part of my heart and a place in my life, of course, that story of who I am and how I
Mm-hmm.
became to be who I am. And so,
That's
yeah.
awesome. Well, I was in LA back in October for the fall board meeting of Opera America, and we
Yes.
talked about the accessibility of the genre
Mm-hmm.
and how that can sometimes cause barriers to people who may actually like the art form, but they're just not able or they don't feel that they can access it.
Mm-hmm.
We sat through the LA Opera's Satyagraha, which was
Mm-hmm.
interesting because I'd never seen it before.
It was
But
fascinating, wasn't it?
fascinating, it's
Yes.
fascinating. One, because of the huge puppets. I mean, these huge
Mm-hmm.
puppets that were on the stage. But I think mostly to me, I was impressed with how that story weaves in themes of freedom
Yes.
and Gandhi's story, and then you
Mm-hmm.
see shadows of MLK
Mm-hmm.
in the story. And, later on that next day, I had a conversation with Mark Skorka, the CEO of Opera America, which is in bonus episode 1. For my
Yes.
listeners out there, you want to revisit that if you want to. And those of you who haven't listened, you need to download that one. It's a really good one. But we talked about how people don't feel like they belong. And that's something that they're trying to conquer. And there were little things that the LA Opera did that night that I picked up on that I thought were just great. One of which was the announcer at the beginning, which most of us would call the voice of God,
Mm-hmm.
was actually female. And I
Mm.
never heard that before. It's typically big booming male voice and, nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
But in some cases, it might be a British accent, which kind of elevates it even more. And they tell you what you can't do, right? You
Mm-hmm.
can't turn off your phones, silence your cell phones, and don't unravel your wrappers, your candy wrappers. And then
Mm-hmm.
they'll say, "Have a nice time."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
this announcement was totally different. One, because they didn't tell us to silence our cell phones. They told us, well, to turn them off. They told us to silence them, but then they gave us a hashtag to use, which
Mm-hmm.
I thought was awesome because my community on social media may or may not be all in with opera or they haven't
Mm-hmm.
been exposed to it. But when I put those images up of Satyagraha,
Mm-hmm.
my following went wild.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they weren't all opera goers.
Mm-hmm.
They were
Mm-hmm.
intrigued. What do you think about making the opera more accessible?
I think it's easier than some of the opera companies are trying to make it seem.
Mm-hmm.
And the quickest way to make it more accessible is to have representation.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is when people see themselves in the productions, they will flock to those productions.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think opera needs to represent the world that we live in. This present day world is a day of, it's a place of just inclusion of all people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you look at the recent elections, you know, you have the first Black woman elected to Congress
Mm-hmm.
from Massachusetts, Ayanna Pressley, and you have the first ever Somali American elected to Congress, and
Yes.
Ilhan Omar, I believe her name is, and then you have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez from New York, and she's actually 29 years old, from the Bronx, and so on and on. You have all of these different representations of us, you know. And
Yes.
so when I can see myself on that stage, then I can relate to what's happening on that stage. But if that stage only reflects one demographic
Right.
and one group, then of course that wall, that barrier will continuously be there. And of
Absolutely.
course there are wonderful companies who are doing that. So I'm not saying that all of the companies in general are
Mm-hmm.
not doing that, but I believe all of the companies should unite. All of the heads of those companies should come together and make it a conscious effort to represent the world, the present day world that
Mm-hmm.
we live in.
You know,
And I,
mm-hmm. Go
mhm.
ahead. Go ahead.
And I just feel that step alone, not to say that that's the only step that needs to be taken, but that step alone will open up the difference of those who come in. You know, it'll make the difference for those who will now be interested and say, I want to go because, yeah, you know, it's kind of like when Black Panther came
Yes.
on, and it shattered records because people saw themselves. And not only did they go, but they made it a movement. They went dressed in garb, you
Yes.
know, authentic garb, and they actually related with the experience of that Black Panther showcase. And so that's what needs to happen in opera, not only with African Americans, but with
Yes.
our Latino brothers and sisters,
Yes.
with our Native American brothers and
Mm-hmm.
sisters, with our Asian brothers and sisters. It's got to represent the world, you know, and
Absolutely.
the world is not only one demographic. And until they change that, and until they make a conscious decision to change that, the numbers will continuously decline.
Absolutely. Well, and you know, there is data that supports this, and it's not just for the opera; it's for any business that's out there trying to survive, right?
Yes,
So,
that's right. That's right.
you know, I tell people all the time, and I've spoken about this. The word minority is dated, and I don't even use it anymore. And the reason is because the numbers support it. My daughter and your daughter are members of Generation Z, or they're called centennials.
Yes.
And that means that they are somewhere between the ages of 4 and 20, something like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The first baby that was born in Gen Z was born in 2012, which is the same year my little baby Joni was born.
Mm.
And in 2012, 1 in every 2 babies born was a baby of color.
Mm.
So they're already not in the minority anymore.
That's right. That's right.
And then if
And
you add on top of that, millennials, which are what folks call Generation Y,
mm-hmm.
that's the generation before Gen Z.
Yes.
The oldest adult millennial is probably almost 40.
Mm-hmm.
And they are the most multicultural adult generation out there. So this is adding up, right?
Absolutely. And it's
Mm-hmm.
going to, and this is the way that the world is progressing,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so it gets to the point where opera has to reflect what's going on in the world.
Yes.
It has to say that not only should it reflect it, but also say that our stories matter. Our
Yes.
stories are important, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Our stories need to be told and need to be seen by these different groups. Of course, the operatic group, the operatic world needs to experience what it's like to, they need to experience Mandela's story. They need
Right.
to experience Martin Luther King's story, but they also need to experience even stories of history that's being made even today, And so it has to reflect all all that this world encompasses and all that this world is about.
And
And
inclusion isn't exclusive. There are folks that would shudder at the fact that, okay, if we're telling, quote, their stories, where do I fit in? But I think Satyagraha is a great example of how that story was about a universal theme. Everybody can relate to the idea of your freedom maybe being taken away.
Absolutely. And I think once we remove the fear of saying, if I can celebrate someone else, then that means my story won't be told. That's a fear, and that's an unsubstantiated fear,
Right.
So really, once we remove that ideology that I can't celebrate someone else because that takes away from the light being reflected on my life. That's even a personal and a great lesson for life as well, is that I can celebrate everybody's journey, everyone's life, and everyone's story, and celebrate my own.
Totally. Well,
And
and
so
when you open yourself up to listen to someone's story, chances are that you'll start to hear similarities.
that's what it's about. That is where our humanity kicks in. We are more alike than different. We are all actually the same. We're connected.
Right.
And so I can see myself in you, and hopefully you can see yourself in me.
Right.
It's not that I am above someone else or beneath someone else too, or someone else is above me or beneath me, but we are all connected. And in our connectedness, that's where we rise higher. That's where our humanity can now shine a light unto this world.
Yes, and music is one of those cultural things
Yes.
that binds us,
Yes.
and we find out that we're more the same. You know what, Audrey? Just this year, Nielsen released for the first time, or maybe it was 2017, they released for the first time streaming music data. Because Pandora and Spotify and iTunes, they all reported for the first time. And they were able to share which music genres were the most agreed upon. In other words, if you want to unify people in a room and say, okay, what does everybody want to hear? If they raise their hands, they would say X, Y, and Z. And they found that R&B and hip hop is the most agreed upon genre.
Okay.
I'm not shocked by this. I think we knew it anecdotally. We knew it because we have friends who may not be African American who like hip hop, or they're listening to Mary J. Blige. They're listening to these American art forms, right? These were the genres that were born here.
That's right. That's right.
And I have the very great privilege of meeting with, in the next couple of weeks, Dr. Henry Louis Gates Jr. for a project that I'm doing with my company. And, he has not just a theory, he's proved it out. The human genome makes us all the same. So ultimately, through his show, Finding Your Roots, he's able to, with the help of genealogists, trace people's genealogy back all the way to, common roots. And what he's found is that we have more in common than we do differences. And I think sometimes that music shows that in what our likes and dislikes are when it comes to music. And I know that Spotify, no, it was Pandora, they've mapped the music genome. So just like we're talking about What Child Is This and how it has this Latin flavors, and then you'll hear a little lullaby, and you might hear a little of another type of influence. They have mapped the DNA of music, and they have been able to trace people's likes and dislikes based on the music that they listen to. So I
Mm-hmm.
think there's something here with albums like yours that are mixing flavors that are what we would say in the diversity and inclusion realm intersectional.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think that you will find that more people will listen to the music when you kind of layer it with different themes. Do you agree?
I agree, because there may be something, and there will be different things that will connect with different people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for some, it may be my classical singing that may connect them,
Mm-hmm.
but then for others, they may hear that Latin feel and say, "Ah, I really like that," or it may hear the Caribbean groove that I have as well. I have a track with the Caribbean groove
It's
as
awesome.
well.
Mm-hmm.
And they may hear that and say, "Ah, I like that," or they may hear the drums on Little Drummer Boy, and connect with that, or the jazz in Lincoln Little Drummer Boy, and connect with that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there are different things that will connect with different people, and not everything speaks to all people, and I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about it saying the same thing. It's kind of like when you go to an art gallery, you go to a museum, the paintings there and the artwork there will speak differently to everyone that experiences those the artwork, the various artworks that are there. And so for one, the same painting may bring an abundance of peace. And then to another person, that very same painting may bring an overwhelming feeling of fear, or of love, or whatever it is. And so I think that's the beauty of art, including music in that as well when I say art. And
Right.
so that is the beauty of art, that it's not a unified message, it's just you put it out there and the allow the work to speak for itself,
Right. And this is
And
why I think opera has such a great opportunity to move the needle, maybe even quicker than other businesses or other industries, because they have this thing called music, which is a cultural thing that resonates with so many, with everyone. Everyone loves music. Who doesn't love music, right?
that's right.
And, you know, I think one thing that makes opera more accessible is just to define what it is. And we had this conversation while I was in LA too. You'd be amazed at the kinds of music that's out there that actually would qualify as opera simply by its definition. So I want to ask you, Audrey, what is your definition of opera? Or what is the classic definition of opera?
Well, I'll go with my definition of
Mm-hmm.
opera. And so for me, opera is it's one of the highest forms of expression to me.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's all about storytelling. It's storytelling gone to the 10th degree.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and that's why, just a little pause there. That's why it's so important that opera reflects today's time and tells all stories,
Mm-hmm.
And so because of the beauty of the storytelling that's in opera, I believe opera has the power to actually touch more lives than it even realizes for itself.
I looked up the definition after this conversation that we had in the boardroom that day
Hmm.
because someone said, I think people would be very surprised to find out that Hamilton is an opera. And
Mm.
it triggered something for me because I was like, I love musicals, I love Broadway, I love show tunes, all that good stuff. So I start Googling and I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, what's the difference between a musical and an opera? And what
Hmm.
I learned was that musicals traditionally have talking parts too. So there's scripted speaking as well as music, but the opera is music all the way through. And
Are
that's
sung,
where,
right,
right.
right,
And
right.
that's where Hamilton crossed over into the art form.
But you know what?
Mm-hmm.
There are some, now that's up for discussion as well, because
Okay.
then you have works like Porgy and Bess. That has, the original format has some speaking in there. Some companies and some productions, they cut that. But it's very interesting that you say that. So then, is Porgy and Bess an opera or is it a musical? And that has always been up for debate. There are those who feel like it is one of the greatest American operas ever composed. And then there are those who feel like, well, it's one of the greatest musicals ever composed. So it's
interesting you say that, because I think you were probably the first one to refer to it as an opera. When my voice coach taught me portions of Porgy and Bess, and I believe she took the class to the music hall, in Fair Park to see it, she referred to it as a musical.
She referred to it as a musical. That's right. And so many people, they have different perspectives of it. And so very interesting about that. But talking about opera, it has the unique, to me, it has such a unique opportunity in today's time to really reach out and branch out to a whole new demographic of people, to reach beyond the opera house, and through different measures, of course, through outreach programs, going into schools. That's always a wonderful thing. But there are always more things that you can do as well. Going out into the community and going out into churches, and just doing different things to reach out to people, and letting people know that you care, because it's more than just saying, I want to sell these tickets, but letting people know that you care about the community that you're in, and people can recognize truth. And once they realize that they can be reflected, I believe they will come.
I think you're right, Audrey. I really do. And hopefully the work that I'm doing with Opera America will start to chip away at some of these exclusive feelings and even perceptions that the opera now has.
Yes, I believe it will.
Anything else you want to share with us? Anything we should know about that's coming down the pipe?
There's so much always in the works, but I just want to say, please make sure you get your copy of Joy to the World, A Christmas Celebration. Please make sure to get that, and if you so choose, on one of my social media sites, let me know how you feel about it. I would love to hear from you.
And they can find you where on Twitter and Instagram?
On Twitter, it is AUD and then DuBois Harris, DuBois Harris. On Twitter and everywhere else, Facebook, Instagram, and even on my website, it is Audrey DuBois Harris, AUDREY DUBOIS HARRIS, and for my website.com.
Excellent. Audrey, congratulations on your project.
Michelle.
It is
Thank
phenomenal.
You.
I can't wait to listen to it over and over and over and over and over again.
Yes, that's wonderful.
And thanks again for coming on the show. I really appreciate you.
Thank
God
you so
bless
much
you.
for having me, and God bless you too. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.
All righty. It is always a joy to be on the line with Audrey DuBois Harris. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, learned a little something too. But you know what? We're all the way to the moment that you've been waiting for. Who was the person who will get the signed copy of Audrey's CD, Joy to the World? The winner is Keisha Cote from Dallas, Texas. Keisha, drop me a note at info@culturesoup.com. Thank you so much for everyone who entered for the giveaway. And we'll have more like that coming up. Hey, listen, Remember the 30minutementor.com? Yes, I've received several applications and I so appreciate it. I will begin reaching out to my cohort members in the next week or so after Christmas. And we'll get started. As 2018 wraps up and we're celebrating the holidays, no matter what you celebrate, whether it's Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever it might be, I want to thank each and every one of my listeners for tuning in each and every week, and even for bonus episodes. You guys, I'm overwhelmed at how many people are listening and downloading on a weekly basis. And you know what? I committed to doing 52 weeks this year, so I will be with you year round. I hope you'll be with me for that journey and that you will tell a friend. Follow us at The Culture Soup, both on Instagram and Twitter. And of course, you can go online to theculturesoup.com, where you can have the latest information on what's coming up next on episodes, any giveaways or contests or promotions, anything that we have going. And again, have a wonderful holiday. The Culture Soup podcast is a production of No Silos Communication.